Story 1. Not if avoidable. Just easier that way. Peace of mind to everyone involved. Just because she trusts me does not mean I should test that trust or put any potential stress on it. Story 2. No. I would sleep outside before I slept over at another girl's house. Not because I don't trust myself, but because I know girls, and my girl's mind wouldn't stop running wild on that one. I would give her that peace of mind. Story 3. If it were a safe place and my significant other was aware and okay with it, I don't know the circumstances of why this would be happening, but I'm just imagining a scenario in which this might be the best idea. I wouldn't want to sleep in my car or something, as long as I'm not going to have to explain anything the next day. Just because it's a girlfriend doesn't mean I'm going to sleep with her as soon as the opportunity comes along. This is also assuming she'd want to. Story 4. I've done it a few times. My wife knows who my friends are. I had a female best man. I had to crash a few times when driving would not be a good idea. Story 5. If the alternative is driving home drunk or being too tired to get home safely, then absolutely. If your significant other does not trust you to respect the boundaries of your relationship and is worried that just being in the same home overnight with someone of the opposite sex will lead to you violating those boundaries, you probably do not have a very healthy relationship. Story 6. If someone wants to cheat, they will cheat. If I can get a hotel room, the girl can join me in the hotel room. Personally, I think not sleeping in the same bed is a normal request. Not sleeping in the same room depends on the availability of rooms. If a second one is empty, I'll take the empty room, but I'm not going out of my way to find separate sleeping spaces. Same house is ridiculous to me. Have you people never traveled with friends? At that point, you just have to trust me. Again, if I wanted to cheat, I could regardless. I just don't want to. Story 7. There are lots of factors here. When I was married, I stayed at my ex-wife's friends' houses without her when I traveled. My ex knew these women who were mostly lesbians or married. She felt safe because her longtime friends knew exactly where I was at night. My girlfriend after divorce would never permit such a thing. I did not travel without her very often. I just know her well enough to know she would not accept that. No, I would not even ask. Other women I know fall somewhere in the middle. And that is the answer. How does my partner feel about it? Story 8. I feel like it would make my partner stress too much. I would avoid it at all costs, but if I had to, then I would. I would call my partner while I go to sleep if possible, and hopefully that would help them sleep too. It depends on the relationship dynamics, I suppose, but in general, most people don't want their partner sleeping at the opposite sex's house, regardless of the circumstances. Story 9. Yeah, why not? Absent a specific context suggesting more going on, friends stay over at each other's places sometimes, and it's nothing to think twice about, regardless of gender. Story 10. A while back, my female coworker and I rented an Airbnb and spent the night. She was in bed and I was on the couch. The next morning at 6 a.m., I think we ran a 5-kilometer race together. We walked back after the race and said, "See you Monday," and left. Our partners trusted us and it was never an issue. Story 11. I do not have any good enough female friends to do this. I would never do this to my girlfriend. If I was having drinks, I would already have a backup plan to get home, or my girlfriend would be with me. I would never put myself in this situation. Story 12. Yeah, why would this even be a question? I'm not there to sleep with her. We aren't even sleeping in the same room. This is like asking if it's okay to hug your sibling because they're the opposite sex. I stay over with my friends, even if one of them is a woman. I'm not wasting money on a hotel because people have fragile notions of gender roles. I'm seeing that many of you are dealing with really low trust and high insecurity in women in your lives. I would not be concerned if my girlfriend stayed at a male friend's house. Story 13. This is something we laugh about because when I used to work a day out of town, my wife suggested I stay with a friend of mine who was female. Obviously, they know each other well and have no issues, and so it was fine and saved us a lot of money years ago. Never an issue. Story 14. When I was in a difficult relationship from school, I went to a university near my friend's university. He had a girlfriend too, but he wanted to cheat, whereas I didn't. At some point during a night out, these two girls started flirting with us. One was very pretty and the other less so. My friend invited them back to our hotel. We were poor and had a twin room for both of us. When we got up to the room, there was one double bed, so I started to wonder how this was going to work. By this point, both girls were flirting with both of us, and we were kind of nervous, not knowing where it was going. At least I was. We all got into the bed to go sleep, and my friend tried his luck with the girl next to him. She tried to swap places with her friend, but her friend ignored it. Minutes later, I felt the girl behind me getting undressed in the bed and then a pair of naked breasts on my back. I lost my nerve and slept in the bath. I always felt really guilty about letting that happen. I know it's not the same, but it taught me how easily you can end up crossing lines even when you don't mean to. So, if there is any attraction or confused feelings, I would always opt out, and then I would question the validity of my relationship. Now I am married. I would happily sleep at a woman's house knowing I fully trust myself, but I still think it would annoy my significant other. Story 15. Yes, in a number of scenarios. I would sleep at a couple's place. I would sleep at a family member's place. I would sleep at a lesbian's place. If I knew someone in a distant city, to avoid paying for a hotel when traveling, I would sleep at their place. If my partner has a problem with any of those, I would tell them they need to grow up. I would not sleep at another single girl's place after we had a fight. I would not sleep at another single girl's place after having too much to drink. Story 16. If it were the other way around, where my girlfriend would sleep at a guy friend's place, I would get in the car and come sleep with her on that sofa, or she is coming back home with me. So no, I would not ever even think of me sleeping at a female friend's place. I am not going to put her through that because I would hate to be on the other end of the situation. Story 17, of course. If you cannot trust your partner enough not to misbehave in that situation, you should not be in a relationship anyway. But my partner would know about it. Story 18. Never. My girlfriend and I have strict boundaries with opposite-sex friends. She would never be okay with me doing that. Likewise, I wouldn't be okay with her having a sleepover with a male friend. Story 19. Yes, I would. It's called maturity. I'm also the guy that picks up random girls caught out in a snowstorm. So if I exist, why shouldn't my female counterpart exist? Story 20. I slept in the same bed with my girlfriend's sister once after we went to a party and got drunk. Then we went back to her place and smoked weed. I told my girlfriend the next day, and she seemed a little annoyed but said she trusts her sister, so she knew nothing happened. Story 21. In my case, it depends. If I'm visiting New York and her friend offers me their spare room, she would think I'm an idiot not to take it. If it was a friend of mine she hasn't met, which frankly I can't think of, actually, I don't think she would give a thought. She has stayed at her guy friends' places before. We have been together 8 years, lived together, and own several businesses together. This isn't something we would really care about if we both knew the other person as friends. Now, if it's someone we don't know well, I think the easy decision is to just get your own place. The peace of mind is worth more than anything. Story 22. Not if you love and respect your partner. If you're a good partner, you don't put yourself in situations like this, so she doesn't have to overthink or have doubts. If she was sleeping over at other guys' houses occasionally, and when approached, all she would say is, "I sleep on the couch, it's fine. Would you like that?" Chances are no. So don't do it to your partner. Most of these questions can be answered with this logic. Story 23. Context would very much matter. Who is the girl and why do I have to sleep there? And is my wife present or does she know I will be sleeping there? Basically, if it is someone my wife would have no issues with, like my sister, then yes. But if my wife would be even the least bit uncomfortable about it, then no. Back when we were first dating, such a scenario came up. I spent the night in a hotel room with a group of friends and shared a bed with another girl. I slept above the covers and she slept below them. Nothing happened between us and everyone else there vouched for that, including making a reference to a movie that I slept 4 feet above the covers. My wife said she did not mind, but I could tell it bothered her. I will not repeat such an event. Story 24. Only if I passed out there. Then I'm getting up and leaving as soon as I wake up. Nothing good can come of this. I would rather walk home in the cold rain and brave hypothermia. Story 25. There's no way to prove where you slept. Don't play with fire if you don't want to get burned. Think the other way around. If your girl slept at a guy's house, how would you feel? Could she prove nothing happened? Come on. Story 26. No, I do not even need to entertain this idea. In what situation would this make sense? All this would do is make my girlfriend insecure and cause problems in my relationship. I would just get my own hotel room. Story 27. I would and could because my partner is secure in our relationship. I would extend to her the exact same trust. I know this is not the norm, which I do value. If either of us decided to break this trust, it wouldn't be because of an opportunity like this. Story 28. Would not be my first choice if we were alone, but if there was a good reason for it, sure. Wife understands too. This inability to keep their pants on, a thing a lot of guys seem to have, is weird and messed up. Have you so little self-control? Not you necessarily, but the folks that cannot manage. Story 29 depends on the context, but yes, probably. I'm assuming the other girl is a friend. My wife knows all my friends, so she'd be fine with it if it was an emergency or a huge convenience thing. Story 30. Yes, because I have female friends that are purely platonic, and I don't see their friendship any differently than that of my male friends. I'd also be okay with it if my partner did so too. Story 31. Absolutely. We trust each other to be honest and communicate where we are. If for some reason there was tension or subtext, we would just talk about it. This is a lot easier than having a running list of who I'm allowed to be around under what circumstances and vice versa. I am also a ski bum, so in winter I spend a lot of time traveling and crashing at odd spots, so it would get administratively difficult to segregate by gender. Story 32. Yes. I stayed in a girl's guest bedroom whom I had just met a couple of days before. We didn't do anything physical, just hung out and explored her hometown. My girlfriend didn't have a problem with it either. Story 33. Hell, I've shared a bed with other women like half a dozen nights this year. And to be clear, I am in a monogamous relationship, and nothing besides sleeping happened. It was also discussed with my girlfriend beforehand, and she had no problems with it or why it was being asked. The reality of the matter is any remotely attractive and socially functional person, and plenty who are not, can easily find a way to cheat if they feel like cheating. Story 34. Yeah, I've crashed at my friend's house and she has crashed at mine. We've shared a bed multiple times. We've been friends for over 20 years. Nothing has ever happened, and there would be no reason for anyone to suspect otherwise. It's only ever been a platonic sleeping arrangement. Story 35. I knew a guy who was obsessed with this girl who rejected him years ago, but she kept him around as a friend who was always at her beck and call. He was like her personal servant. He told me when I started dating him, "Oh, don't worry. She's just my best friend. And I also sleep over at her house, but don't worry. There are other roommates that live there too. I made sure to get the bedroom closest to her room, and I always hang out in her room. But don't worry. We're just friends. Oh, and I also take her shopping, buy her food, replace her hair straighteners, buy her marijuana, take her out to dinner, lunch, breakfast, and to the hookah lounge. I buy her stuffed animals, change the oil for her car, pay her medical bills, school bills, and rent. But don't worry. We're just best friends." As he's texting her nonstop in the middle of our date. Just please don't do this kind of thing to your partner. Of course, you can have friends of the opposite sex, but have some boundaries. Story 36. I would ask my significant other first like, "Hey, so I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I will be staying over at this person's house tonight for…" Insert reason here. Story 37. It isn't a straight up no, but not ideal and depends on a lot of factors. But I have really close friends who are couples, and if I'm being honest, I'd be a little hurt if I found out that either party didn't want the woman spending a night in the same place as me. I get it, but I wouldn't ever consider doing anything, and I'd be sad if the woman didn't feel safe or the man didn't think I was trustworthy or whatever the reasons. I'm not expecting it as a regular thing or an ideal thing, but if the situation arose, I'd expect it not to be an issue. Story 38. No chance. Even if I would, there is no way my wife would be okay with it. The same way I would not be okay with her sleeping at another man's house. It is not about trust but about respect. Story 39. I will get a hotel or sleep in my car or stay anywhere else. Why? Because it isn't appropriate. Even if nothing happened and it is completely innocent, it simply is not appropriate behavior. I would never stay at a woman's house or allow myself to be put into a situation where even the question of what if comes up. Story 40. No, I trust myself completely and all my female friends, but I wouldn't want to put my girlfriend in that position to even think something might happen. I'll just sleep in my car in a residential area. Story 41. Been married 11 years. I have definitely done it. I have several close female friends. There were times I got too drunk to drive and stayed at their place. My wife didn't mind. Sometimes she would get me from the bar if I drank too much. Other times, she didn't care to come get me and I would crash at my friend's place.